me this wig, you pauper of a wife. You bought it with my son's hard-earned money." Nkechi's mother-in-law shouted, "Mama, stop it, please. You are embarrassing me. I don't care." The market was bustling that Saturday morning, with traders shouting over one another, trying to sell their goods. Nkechi clutched her basket of vegetables tightly, her eyes scanning through the stores for fresh ugu leaves. She hoped to make a quick trip and go back home to prepare dinner for the family. But her plans unraveled when she heard the sharp, unmistakable voice of Mama Emeka, her mother-in-law, slicing through the market crowd. "There she is, the gold digger, who thinks she can eat where she did not sow." Heads turned, and necks craned, and Nkechi's heart sank as she turned to see her mother-in-law, Mama Emeka, storming towards her. The elderly woman was wrapped in a brightly patterned red Ankara wrapper, her hair tie knotted tightly like she was prepared for battle. She carried a small group of spectators in her wake, their interest piqued by the unfolding drama. "Mama, what are you talking about?" Nkechi asked, her voice low, hoping to de-escalate the situation. Mama Emeka ignored her questions and grabbed Nkechi's arm with surprising strength for a woman her age. "Look at this wig she is wearing. Do you know who paid for it? My son. Everything on this girl's body, from head down to her toe, is from my son's hard-earned money." Before Nkechi could react, Mama Emeka's hand shot up and yanked the bow straight wig clean off her head. A gasp rippled through the crowd as Nkechi's natural braided underneath was exposed. The embarrassment hit like a slap, and her cheeks burned with shame. "Mama, stop this. This is too much." Nkechi's voice cracked as she tried to wrestle her wig back from her mother-in-law. But Mama Emeka held it high above her head, waving it around like a trophy. "Look at her, pretending to be what she's not. Nkechi, do you think we don't know your plan? I know you married my son, Emeka, because you saw money. My son is not blind, but it is women like you that trap men with your fake love." Nkechi felt the sting of tears, but she quickly blinked them back, refusing to cry in front of the growing crowd. She wanted to explain, to defend herself, but no words came. Her chest heavy with the effort of holding back her anger and humiliation. "Mama Emeka, this is not fair," a trader from one of the stores said, stepping forward cautiously. "You should not be doing this in public," the elderly woman said. "Whatever your problem you have with her, settle it at home." Mama Emeka wailed on the trader, her eyes blazing. "Stay out of this. Do you know how hard my son worked to get where he is? Do you know how much money he has spent on this girl and her family? And what does she bring to the table? Nothing. Absolutely nothing." Nkechi's hands balled into fists. She had had enough. "Mama, I bring love to this marriage. I bring respect. And I care for your son. I don't deserve this kind of treatment from you." Mama Emeka's laugh was harsh and mocking. "Love? Respect? What love are you talking about? If Emeka loses his job today, you will be the first to run away because you are there for the money." The crowd murmured in discomfort. Some looked at Nkechi with pity. Others shook their head at Mama Emeka's behavior. Nkechi's voice was firm when she spoke again. "I love Emeka, not his money. And nothing you do or say will change that." But Mama Emeka was not done. She threw Nkechi's wig on the dusty ground and trampled on it, and then spat at Nkechi's feet. "You are not worthy to be my son's wife. If it were up to me, this marriage would have never happened in the first place." Tears streamed down Nkechi's face, and she bent to pick up her wig, brushing off the dust. Her hands trembled, but She stood tall, meeting Mama Emeka's glare with defiance. You can't break me, Mama. I know who I am, and I know what Emeka and I share. You are only embarrassing yourself. As Nkechi drove home from the market that day, her mind replayed the ugly incidents like a broken record. The humiliation, the whispers, the judgmental eyes of the crowd. It was all too much. Her fingers gripped the steering wheel tightly as tears blurred her vision. She pulled over to the other side of the road, resting her forehead against the wheel as memories from her past flooded her mind. She thought back to the first time she met Emeka. Back then, she was just a poor girl from a struggling home. Her mother had raised her and her four younger siblings alone after their father's demise. As the eldest, Nkechi had taken on responsibility beyond her years. She hawked groundnuts, pure water, and anything else she could sell just to help her mother put food on the table. At 21, Nkechi met Emeka. He had patronized her small groundnut business, and from there on, he became a regular customer. He took so much interest in her, and Emeka was different from men she had encountered. He was kind, patient, and genuinely interested in her dreams. Despite Emeka being rich, he never looked down on her. He encouraged her to believe in herself, to dream beyond her circumstances. His kindness and humility made Nkechi fall in love with him. But there was a problem. Mama Emeka hated the fact that Emeka brought in such a poor lady and introduced as his wife to be. Mama Emeka saw Nkechi as a desperate girl who all she wanted was an escape from poverty. But when Nkechi noticed the way Mama Emeka looked at her with disdain, she made her concerns known to Emeka. He simply told her to be patient with his mother, that with time she would come around. Nkechi held on strongly to Emeka's words, and so they got married. And Nkechi moved to the city with her husband. But shortly, Mama Emeka, her mother-in-law, moved in with them. But Nkechi took care and respected her mother-in-law as though she was her own mother. When Nkechi gave birth to their first daughter, Kaima, her mother-in-law only bathed the baby once. She spent most of her time watching movies and relaxing as though she did not care about her granddaughter. When Nkechi gave birth to another girl, that was when all hell broke loose. Mama Emeka was livid. Why will Nkechi give birth to another girl child again instead of a boy? You are just too lazy, she would say. So you cannot give your husband a male child. You are just good for nothing. And so Mama Emeka did not even touch her second grandchild, not to talk of carrying or bathing her. As Nkechi reminisced on events that had happened in the past, a honk from another car snapped her back to reality. Move your car! You are blocking my entrance! That was when Nkechi realized that she had parked the car in front of someone's gate. She quickly apologized to the driver and then she drove off. Years passed and Nkechi and Emeka were blessed with three beautiful daughters. Nkechi adored them and so did Emeka. But Mama Emeka was not pleased. In her eyes, having daughters was a failure, a sign of bad luck. She never failed to make her disappointment known. Three girls? Where is my grandson? She would say to Nkechi. When will you give my son a male child? A woman who cannot give her husband a son has brought nothing but misfortune, and such a woman has no place in her home, she would say to Nkechi. At first, Nkechi tried to ignore her mother-in-law's hurtful words, but as her daughters grew older, Mama Emeka's dislike for them became more evident. She would refuse to carry them when they reached out for hugs, push their hands away when they greeted her. She would say, Grandma is not ready for all of this. I need to rest. Give me space. And the children would immediately leave her presence, feeling rejected. One evening, Nkechi overheard her eldest daughter, Adaeze, asking in a small, uncertain voice, "Mother, why does grandma never smile at us? Doesn't she love us? Did we do something wrong to her?" Nkechi's heart shattered. She wanted to say something, to stand up for her children, but she feared disrespecting her mother-in-law. She held onto the hope that things would change, but Emeka had had enough. "Mama, if you cannot love my daughters, you have no place in this house," he warned one night. Nkechi begged him not to send her away. "She's your mother, Emeka. Maybe one day she would change." Mama Emeka only scoffed. "Change? Nkechi, you are nothing but a poor girl who tricked my son. I will never accept you." Nkechi wiped her tears in silence, hoping that one day her mother-in-law's heart would soften towards her. But deep down, she feared that it would never come. Nkechi's daughters started to sense their grandma's disdain, and Adaeze, the oldest, began avoiding her entirely. The little ones hesitated to approach their grandmother, their once hopeful eyes now guarded. Nkechi, watched in silent pain, torn between her duty to respect her mother-in-law and her growing desperation to shield her children from her cruelty. One day, Nkechi decided to go to the market to get some foodstuffs. As usual, she would simply tell Emeka and he would give her money. But that day was different. When she approached her husband for money, he frowned. "So, Nkechi, all you know how to do is ask, ask, and ask. Aren't you tired? Aren't you ashamed of yourself, eh? Apart from the girls you have given birth for me, what else have you really contributed to this home? Nothing." Nkechi was in shock. Was Emeka talking to her? It was unbelievable. She looked round to be sure that she was the only one there. And then she realized she was the only one standing in the living room. Emeka, sensing what was going on in her mind, said, "Yes, it is you I am talking to. Answer me." Nkechi could not say a word. As she stood there in shock, tears flowed freely from her face. It took her mind back to when she had wanted to start a business, when she had just gotten married and moved to the city. But Emeka surprisingly did not allow her. He told her to relax and take care of the home, as his income was more than enough to take care of the family. She had tried talking about it severally, but each time it led to an altercation, and so she decided to let it be. And now Emeka is using her inability to make her own income to ridicule her. And from that day, Emeka became hostile to her. He would get angry at any slightest provocation. And so, Mama Emeka made it a point of duty to buy foodstuff for the home. And Emeka did not fail to give his mother money for the upkeep of the house. And Nkechi was relegated. One day, Nkechi decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with her mother-in-law. "Mama, please, I just want to apologize to you if I have offended you in any way. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me," Nkechi said calmly. "Oh, I see. Why won't you beg? The charm you used on my son all these years for him to have married a pauper like you has finally paid, Okwaya. I knew it. I knew it. I swear, Mama, I did not charm your son. He loves me." "Oh, you still have the mind to talk, right? He loves me. Just wait until I get a real woman for my son who would be able to give him a male child. Until then, just enjoy your stay here," Mama Emeka said as she hissed and walked away, leaving Nkechi in tears. That night, Nkechi could not sleep. How was she going to continue in a marriage where her husband, who had showed her love, suddenly turned his back against her, making her feeling worthless. As she thought of the memories she once shared with Emeka, and now her life was a shadow. Months passed, and surprisingly one day, Mama Emeka introduced a woman named Nkiru to her son. Nkiru was everything Mama Emeka wanted in a daughter-in-law: obedient, respectful, and most importantly, loyal to her above all else. She whispered in Emeka's ears, persuading him that Nkiru was the answer to his problem, the one who would bear him a son and continue their lineage. Emeka, torn between his love for his mother and his loyalty to his wife, eventually gave in. He took Nkiru in as his second wife, much to Nkechi's heartbreak. Nkechi endured humiliation upon humiliation. Nkiru, armed with Mama Emeka's approval, strutted around the household as though she was a queen. She belittled Nkechi at every opportunity she got, making her feel like an outsider in her own home. Neighbors gossiped about the situation, but nobody dared to intervene. A man's household was his own business, and it was not in their place to meddle. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Nkechi realized she could no longer bear the pain. She had tolerated enough insults, enough neglect, and enough heartbreaks. And so, one fateful morning, Nkechi gathered her belongings with her daughters and left Emeka's house with nothing but her dignity and a few belongings. She made her way to her mother's old small house in the village, determined to start afresh. She decided she would not allow herself or her daughters to be treated as less than they were worth. Mama Emeka was relieved to see Nkechi gone. She was convinced that her son had finally gotten rid of himself, the burden that had kept him from fathering a son for years. With Nkechi out of the picture, she turned all her attention to Nkiru, showering her with love and blessings, confident that she had made the right choice. But what Mama Emeka did not know was that she had invited a snake into her home. Nkiru, the ever-smiling, obedient wife, began to change. Once she was firmly rooted in Emeka's house, she dropped the pretense. The sweet words turned into commands, the humble demeanor morphed into arrogance, and it didn't take time before she started to rule the household with an iron fist. Mama Emeka, who had once thought of her as the perfect daughter-in-law, now found herself at the mercy of the very woman she had welcomed with open arms. Nkiru refused to cook for Mama Emeka, refused to get her water or respect her as she had taught. Nkiru scoffed at Mama Emeka's demands. She spoke back to her arrogantly, something Nkechi had never done, and openly ridiculed Mama Emeka in front of others. Mama Emeka was dumbfounded. How had she not seen this coming? How had she been so blinded by her own desires that she had cast away the daughter-in-law who had respected and cared for her? She thought to herself. Meanwhile, Emeka began to see the cracks in his new marriage. Nkiru was not the sweet woman she had pretended to be. She was cunning, manipulative, and had no respect for him or his family. Worst of all, months passed, then a year, and yet Nkiru did not conceive a child. The very reason he had taken her as a wife was slipping through his finger. He had lost Nkechi, he had lost his daughters, and now he was losing himself. Meanwhile, Nkechi settled in her father's house. The house was old, but her mother welcomed her back with open arms. She was still their daughter regardless. The place was not as luxurious as her husband's house, but there she found solace. Though the pain of betrayal was still fresh, she found solace in the quiet embrace of her childhood home. Her daughters, though confused, felt the warmth of their grandmother and their mother's determination to build a better life for them. Determined to be independent, Nkechi started a small business selling fruits and vegetables in the village market. At first, business was slow, but with time and her hard work and integrity won her loyal customers. The small business grew gradually, and soon she had enough savings to rent a small shop. For the first time in a long while, Nkechi felt peace. She was no longer at the mercy of anyone. She was in control of her own life, of her own destiny. Back in Emeka's house, Nkiru tightened her grip on Emeka. She knew the art of control well and used every means possible to hold Emeka spellbound. She charmed him and fed him sweet words and made him dance to her every tone. Mama Emeka watched in horror as her one strong son became a puppet, obeying Nkiru's every command without questions. Then, one day, Nkiru made a shocking demand. See, Emeka, I am tired of your mother's presence in this house, she said, her voice laced with irritation. She is too old, she is too weak, and too much of a burden to us. Tell us to leave. Emeka, under the spell of his wife's influence, did not even hesitate. That very evening, he approached his mother and delivered the devastating words, Mama, you have to leave. Mama Emeka gasped, tears welling in her eyes. Emeka, my son, what are you saying? Nkiru says she cannot stand you in this house anymore. You need to find somewhere else to stay. What? My son, why will you even say such a thing? Come on, stop that, Emeka. What kind of joke is that? But when Mama Emeka saw the look on Emeka's face, she knew Emeka meant business. Mama Emeka's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. She had sacrificed so much for this son, had fought for him, and now he was throwing her away like an old rag. With trembling hands, Mama Emeka packed her belongings, each item a reminder of the home she thought she had built, but never knew she was destroying it with her own hands. As she walked on the street with no place to go, regrets flushed over her as she had brought in a wolf in her own son's house in sheep clothing. Thank you for watching. You can please share your thoughts in the comment section and share with us the lessons you have learned from this story. Like this video please and subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. Until I come your way again with another story, for now, from me, it is bye.